recording starts. Okay, चलो. I'll go in Hindi also. only देसी लोगों को समझने चाहिए.
या नहीं तो गोरे लोग नहीं रखेगा.
Okay, थोड़ा उधर. तुम्हारा हाथ भी आ जाएगा नहीं. Okay, as usual, home.
ओके.
Okay, you say no for load previous PSP file, and then cancel. It's gonna ask you want to create a new pick and place file. Say yes, so you're gonna be in the new pick and place file now. Okay, go. If you want to give a file name, save it and give a file name. I'm doing Taco Bell today, so I'm gonna give Taco Bell, let's say B-board. Okay, if you want to give the description, customer and everything, you can go ahead and give it, no problem. Okay, the first step is learn PCB. Okay, before learning PCB, we need to load the PCB. For that, I use this button here and say load PCB. That's gonna load the PCB in the machine. Okay, once it's done, you can just exit this and start setup. Learn PCB. Okay, first you have to finish all the options in learn PCB. Okay, we have fiducials on our board, and so we go with use fiducial. And I'm gonna use 2 reference points on each board. And then my board right now is 14 boards. My panel right now has 14 boards in X direction, so I'm gonna change this to 14, and I'm gonna leave this to 1 in Y direction because I have only one board in Y direction. Okay, so then I'm gonna leave this enabled, and I'm gonna leave the bad mark production disabled.
Okay.
And then now I'm gonna show the machine the size of the PCB. The easiest way to do is just go and click on the camera icon right here.
Okay.
It's gonna ask you to learn the upper right corner of board 1-1. Okay, the board 1-1 is always the right and top corner. I mean the right and top board. But right now we have only one board in the Y direction, so it's the rightmost board. So I say okay for this, and I'm gonna bring the camera to the upper right corner of board 1-1. I'm gonna use these red buttons. When I get closer, I'm gonna double click. As you see, this is the end of the board. So, and this is the upper right corner of the board 1-1. Okay. Okay. So I say okay.
Okay.
And then it's gonna ask me to show the lower left corner of board 1-1. I say okay, and then I'll move all the way down. And this is the lower left corner of the board 1-1. It's not right corner, it's lower left corner of the board 1-1. Got it?
Lower left.
Lower left corner of the first board. Okay?
वो कहाँ से आ रहा है? Lower left.
Yeah. See, this is simple. This is the board 1-1, right?
Yeah.
Now we are in the lower corner. This is the lower right corner, right?
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm gonna move to the lower left corner now, like this. So this is the lower left corner of the board.
Okay.
Okay? So lower left corner. Say okay. And it's asking me to learn the first reference point of the board. Okay, I have 2 reference points on each board, one on the top right corner and one on the bottom left corner. The first reference point will be the one on the top right corner. Yeah. Okay. So now I say okay here. It automatically goes to the top right corner,
ओके
so I can show the.
अगर ये नहीं दिखा दो
I didn't get you.
वो पूछे मत वो पूछे नहीं तो
It will ask definitely. That's the process. That's the way it's gonna calculate
में
the size
पूछता
of
है।
the board.
ओके
Because okay, then I'll show approximately. I'll try to be close to center of this, and then say okay. So that finishes the PCB size,
ओके
and then the only left thing is PCB height. Okay. If you already use the same the board with the same thickness before, and you know the exact thickness of the board, you can go and say load default. So this is the default height which I had for the previous board, and if I know this board and the board which I used previously are the same in the thickness, then I can use the same height. But anyway, I'll show you how to check the height if you want to, if you have to do it for this board separately. So you see the icon over here, the auto detect. Just click the auto detect icon. So it's gonna install the nozzle number 1 and just show some place on the board. I'm gonna show in the center of the board, somewhere around the center of the board, just some place, and say okay. Now this is gonna measure the height of the board by itself. So it's close enough. I got like 5.01, and
ओके
so I'm gonna say okay for this. So this will be the height of the board. So now if you see, we finished everything in learn PCB section.
ओके
I have fiducials on the board. Just to refresh, I have fiducials on the board, so I use fiducial, and I'm gonna use 2 reference points on each board, and this is my board matrix 14 by 1, and here we're gonna show the height of the board, and here we're gonna show the dimensions of the board. So we just finished everything in learn PCB, so I say okay, and then I go to the second step, that's learn reference point.
ओके
Okay, in the learn reference point, first we have to learn the fiducials, the 2 fiducials which we're gonna use. So I'm gonna click on learn fiducial. I say yes. Okay, the auto learn tolerance percentage. It is this is something like how close, what is the acceptable closeness of the fiducial when it in production. The machine gonna check for the fiducials, and it gonna see whether the fiducial it sees over there is gonna match with the fiducial which we're gonna show now. So if 80% of that picture matches with this picture, then it's gonna say okay. So but you don't need to worry about these things. I leave the default values 80% and 0.05 mm. This is the distance between the distance tolerance between the 2 fiducials. As you remember, like if the distance between the 2 fiducials is more or less 0.05 mm than what I am showing now, then it's gonna pop up a warning.
Yeah, warning.
Yeah.
0.12
Yeah, if it is like more than 0.05, you can change it to, if you have bigger pads, and if you think it's no need to go so accurate, so you can go to 0.01 or something, and it depends. It's entirely up to you, but I think the minimum is, you can even go closer, up to 0.01. I'll leave it to the default
Okay.
0.05 and say okay. And then I have to show the another okay, now I have to show the fiducial. So I'll move to the top corner. Okay, no, I go to the left top corner, because I have the fiducials on left top corner and right bottom corner. Okay, this is my corner of the board. So my fiducial will be somewhere over here. That's right here. So when you have the cursor on the fiducial, just say center. It's gonna auto center to the fiducial
Okay.
by itself. So you see this is the processed image of the this is what the camera, this is what the machine look the fiducial like. So if you have a lot of dark spots and all, you can change it through this image settings over here, the brightness, contrast and filter. I'm happy with whatever it is right now here, so because I can see a dark blue dot, so I'm happy with whatever is there. So I say okay, and then now you have to every time when you before you show it, just see here what it is asking to show. Now it's asking for me the second fiducial reference, so I'm gonna come all the way to the bottom right corner and show it and I'm gonna show the second fiducial to it. So this is what I meant, because if you see there is a huge black spot. So at this time I may consider of increasing some brightness. No use this contrast. Yeah, it's working. Then I filter something so that it's just a trade-off. If something it's little closer, and if you're satisfied with this, you can go ahead. Even I don't know how to exactly bring the. I'm okay. I'm fine with this. Yeah. So I say okay. Now you have to show the reference. You have to show the reference points of each board. We have 14 boards in this, and you have to show the reference points of all the 14 boards. Okay? I'll show you how. Now if you see here, it says board number 11. So you have to show the reference points for board number 11. Okay, I say learn reference. It automatically goes to the first reference because we already showed this when we did the PCB learn PCB section. So I say okay for this. And if you see here, it's asking me for now board 11 second reference. So I'll come all the way down.
Left one corner, right?
Yeah. So I go to the left corner, I have the second one right here. Okay, I go to the center of it, I say okay. And then for the first time we need to show it the horizontal line of the board. This is to make sure the board is horizontal, because sometimes the board may be little offset from the horizontal.
Okay.
So it's just to show the board's horizontal line, so it's gonna align. So just say yes, and pick a horizontal line on the board, any horizontal line. I'm gonna take this and show the one points on the horizontal line. Okay, and say okay. And it's gonna ask for the second horizontal, the point 2 on the same horizontal line. So I move all the way to the left, and if you see the deviation, there is a lot of deviation. So now I again show the center of this.
Okay.
And then say okay. So now the machine knows it's little offset, and what is exactly the angle between the machine horizontal line and the horizontal line of the board right now.
Okay. That means हम manually move करते हो.
Yeah, because we have.
वो हम manually move करते हो तो उसमें कोई problem नहीं, वैसे भी वो programming में पूछेगा.
Yeah, program में पूछेगा थोड़ा अगर इधर उधर है. If it is slightly slant, then we're gonna show it here that it is slant. So say okay. And it's gonna ask for whether to store the horizontal line. Say yes. Okay, now if you see, it automatically is displaying board 2-1 because we already showed the reference points of board 1-1.
Okay.
So I again say learn reference, and now I have to go all the way to the first reference points of. You can see here always what we are doing now. It's like
2-1.
Yeah, first reference point of board 2-1. Okay, if you see, this is the end of the board. That means this is the board 1-1, and this is the board 2-2. So I have to show it the first reference point of board 2-1. I'm sorry, not 2-2. It's 2-1. I say okay, and it automatically goes to the 2 because it know the second reference point on the, we showed the 2 reference
Yeah.
points on the first board. So whenever you show the first reference point on every board, it's gonna go automatically to the second reference point. So show it and say okay. And this automatically displays board 3-1. Say learn reference point. I'm gonna move on to the third board and go all the way to the top because I have my first reference points on the top. Okay, so I say, and then it automatically comes to the second reference point. You have to do it for all the boards, whatever the number of boards you have. I have 14 here, so this may take a little while, but you know, it's only once for each board. So okay, now it's fifth board. It's very simple. You just say learn reference point, go to the next board because we know we are already on fourth board. You don't physically have to see it here because we just showed the second reference point of the fourth board. Now we know the next one will be the fifth board, so you don't need to count or something. Just go on to the next board and then don't use these diagonal things because it's gonna go away from. Just keep moving y-axis, so it's gonna stay on the same board. Even if you go beyond, then just use the y-axis, so it's gonna be on the same board. So you know this is the reference point of that particular board. Say okay, and it's gonna automatically come to the second reference. Okay, one thing to notice, when you show the first reference point of any board, if it is not coming to the second reference point, that means we are doing a mistake. If it is coming approximately like onto the second reference point, that means we are good, because it has to come, because this one, if I show this is the first reference point of this board, the machine knows where the second reference point will be approximately. So if it comes approximately onto the second reference point, that means that we are doing good. If it goes somewhere else, like, and it otherwise it has a lot of deviation, then we are doing some mistake. We have to find out the mistake, or you have to consider redoing everything. I suggest like do everything again, because this is only once. This you're not gonna do every day. So it's worth spend some time on the programming. Then you don't have to waste your time in production. If you have any questions, you can ask me, because now it's gonna take a while, so I can keep talking. Till now, whatever you saw, you remember? We just showed it all the PCB dimension and all, and in the second section I'm showing.
अभी तक तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं दिख रहा है.
नहीं, it's good, because it see, now I just showed it the first reference point. It automatically came exactly to the second reference point. That means we are good. So it's now ninth board. Just make sure you don't do any mistakes. Don't show this 8th reference points for the 9th reference. When it is asking the 9th board, if you show the reference points of the 8th board again, then what it's gonna do is in production it's gonna place the first component on the 8th board, and it's gonna again place another component on the component. That's gonna make a mess over there. So just make sure when you finish showing the second reference point like this, when you say the reference point, you just move to left a little bit. Good morning. And then go to the top. So I'm almost done. It's the 10th board. I have 4 more. Okay, now it's 11th. So we are in the second section. So it's a good idea to save it after once you finish each section, so that you don't lose anything.
Okay.
So as soon as I finish showing all the reference points, I'm gonna save it. So because for any reason, if you have to close the program or something, you don't accidentally close it without saving. So almost done. One more to go.
एक्चुअली फर्स्ट पॉइंट जो है फर्स्ट वो उसमें हमको थोड़ा सा ध्यान रखना पड़ता है. फिर तो आई थिंक अभी तो इज गोइंग गुड.
Yeah.
पहले आपने हॉरिजॉन्टल लाइन दिखा दी,
Yeah. Then.
फिडुशियल दिखा दिया,
Yeah.
देन आई थिंक पीछे बाद में तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. वो दिखा रहा है कि
Yeah.
भाई क्या करना है तुझे.
Yeah.
यहाँ पे भी दिखा रहा है कि
And
भाई
you see
रेफरेंस कैसे लेना है, फिडुशियल.
And if you see the learn fiducial and the learn reference, both tabs are now blinking now, as it was doing before.
Yeah.
That means we showed it everything. So when you see they're not blinking, and then you can say exit.
ओके.
So we just finished the learn reference point also.
Okay.
So at this point of time, I like to save it. I say okay, it's gonna override it. I say okay. Okay, and then now the third step, learn feeder ID.
ओके.
Before going to this step, you make sure you have the components in the feeder, and the feeders are in the feeder.
ओके.
Yeah. In this case, I have both the LED and also the connectors in the feeder. So I'm ready to go with this step.
ओके.
So I say learn feeder ID. Okay. For programming sake, I'm gonna delete all these things because I say okay. So now if you go to the learn feeder ID from the drop down menu, you'll see it here, or you can directly go to the learn feeder from here also.
ओके.
Okay, from here on we also have the shortcut tabs right here on the screen. So if you want to go from the drop down, it is here. So if you see, it's empty. So now I have the LEDs in D12 feeder number, the D12. So I'm gonna say create. Okay, this create feeder ID window comes up. So I'm gonna select D12 here. D12. I'll leave the feeder ID to 001, and now I'll say this is a 12 mm feeder, so I'll select AF12, and the component name is Cree XPC. I give Cree XPC.
ओके.
And then quantity, usually this reel consists of 1000 LEDs, so I'll give 1000. And most important is library. You have to select the right library. So we have a user defined library for Cree XPC. Okay, just select Cree XPC. You can double click or you can just say select.
अगर क्री एक्सपीसी लाइब्रेरी में नहीं है तो
We have to create a own library. Those are the custom. We created those libraries. I'll show you how to create a library, because we have a new LED which has to be included in the library. So for now, just think we have the library ready. I'll show you I'll show you how to create a library. So now everything is done. So I say okay.
ओके.
So we added the LED section.
द टैब बाय डिफॉल्ट इज पेपर.
No, actually, you can change it to. It's not a paper tape; it's plastic tape. You can change it to plastic, or you can leave it like that, because when we're gonna change the pick height in the next section, it automatically deletes everything.
ओके.
So don't worry about it right now. So I'm gonna say create again, because I have
नाउ फॉर द
Tyco connector. So it's in D18. And I'm gonna leave it as 002, and this is a 16 millimeter feeder, so I'll select AF16, and I'll leave Tyco in the component, and then I'll say quantity is 800, and the library name is Tyco Pokin connector. You can say select, or you can just double click it. It's gonna come up here, and I'll say okay. Okay, so now I'll say okay here, and that concludes the third section of learn feeder ID. Now I gonna learn pick. I'm gonna show the computer way to pick. Okay, this you can go from the drop down menu to learn pick, or you will have the pick icon right here. So you can click either of them. It's gonna come up, get this window, and we know our LEDs, the reel with LEDs is in D12. So I'm gonna double click on the ID here.
Okay.
And I'm gonna select 001 because we just showed the feeder ID. So these two options we have in the feeder ID table. So
Okay.
I'll select the 001 because if you see, automatically the library is imported and the component, everything is imported from the feeder ID table.
Okay.
Okay, only thing I have to show here is the height of the pick height. That means you have to show at what height the component is there in the feeder. Okay, I'll do the same thing as I did with the board. It's you go here. Yeah, if you see here, there is an icon saying learn pick height.
Okay.
I'll click it. It's gonna install the first nozzle number 1 again, and it's prompting me to show where it has to. I'll show the center of the LED. I say okay.
Okay.
Now it's gonna check the height of the LED, pick height of the LED or whatever component it is. So this pick height is very important. If you give a larger number, it's not gonna reach the LED. If you give it a smaller number, it's gonna crush the LED. So this is very important. So it says 6.9 mm. I'll go with it. I say okay.
Okay.
So it's saying like because we are entering the height manually, so it's gonna clear all the details. That's what I said when you asked me about the paper tape or plastic tape. It's gonna delete that section
And
automatically.
the X direction and a Y direction should be.
That's what.
That means is for the panel or
No.
is
Everything.
for the LED.
When you are doing the learn pick, everything is for the components. Whether it is LED or we're gonna show the X1 Y directions also right now. So once you finish the height, I'm gonna say learn XY by camera.
Okay.
See the option? So that's where it's gonna know where it has to pick up the LED. So I say learn by camera, and I'll again show the center of the LED,
Okay.
and I say okay. So this concludes the picking details for the LED, and I'll go to D18 because we have to do the same thing for Tyco connector.
Okay.
D18, I'll double click to get this window, and then I'll click 002. So I'll have the Tyco connector. So as you see, we have the component name and library and everything here. I just want to see the height, so I go learn pick height again,
Okay.
and I'll show the center of the Tyco connector, approximate center, because it's just a height. You don't need to be exactly in the center, but for X and Y thing you have to be specific. Okay, it says 7.17. I say okay. It's gonna get this warning.
Okay.
That's okay. And then I'll say learn X by camera. I'll show where I would like the machine to pick the component. I'll leave it somewhere here. I say okay.
That's approximately. That one we can change it manually, right?
Yeah, that you
Yeah,
can
you
change
could-
it even manually in the production also. So, but it's better to have it correct here so that you don't need you don't get the problem
Every day.
every time. Yeah. So I say that concludes the learn pick. So I'm gonna say okay.
Okay.
So we are almost done. If you wanna save it, you can save it. I'm gonna save it later. So next, go to learn place. You can find learn place in the drop down menu in setup, or you'll have it right on the screen right here.
Okay.
Place. Click learn place, and if you see, click on the ID, double click on the ID,
Okay.
because if you click the ID 001, it's gonna come up right here, all the details, the component, library, everything.
Okay.
And now what you have to do is learn by camera.
Okay.
Now this section is learn place. Now you are showing the machine where to place on the board. Okay, so I say learn by camera. It says move XY to the first reference location. If you say no, you have to move the camera from the current position to the first the LED position. But if I say
Manually?
yes, yeah, manually in the sense using the red buttons. If I say yes, don't worry about it. If I say yes, it's gonna come all the way to the first reference point, and I'll show where to place that LED right here. Okay, make it center. I say okay. Now I'll say, I can say insert, but I'll go for copy because I don't need to do all the, I can avoid a lot of steps by doing copy. I say copy.